Minister, the eviction of people into homelessness was utterly unacceptable before the pandemic, and indeed Solidarity People Before Profit put forward an anti-evictions bill in the last Dáil, which did get passed with a majority. I think, if I'm correct, Fianna Fáil voted for that. Ultimately, that is the solution. We need to stop evictions into homelessness and remove any grounds for eviction that are not related to, if you like, genuine fault on the part of the tenant. But all of the loopholes, sale, refurbishment, all of those that are being used by property owners and landlords just essentially to maximise the profit on the property they own at the expense of real human beings who need a roof over their head and have a right to a roof over their head, those grounds must be removed. But whatever about that generality, and to be quite honest, that is the solution and we should just get on with it, but evicting people into homelessness, allowing that to happen over rent arrears, over mortgage arrears, or anything else is utterly incompatible with public health during a period of a pandemic. And I don't think you need to write to the Department of Health to get advice on this. It is self-evident. And I think you should just say now, there is going to be, as a minimum, until we decide the bigger issue, as an absolute minimum, nobody is going to be evicted into homelessness during the pandemic. As long as COVID-19 is around, and it looks like, sadly, it's going to be around for a couple of years at least, nobody is going to be evicted. And let's just say that, do it, and make sure that that is the policy. Because how on earth could be compatible with adhering to public health guidance in terms of preventing the transmission of the virus to put people on the street? You can't do it. Where are you supposed to wash your hands? Right? How are you supposed to maintain hygiene? You don't have a bathroom, you don't have toilets. Or to go into shared accommodation in some hostel, or to be in a homeless hub where you're having to share kitchen facilities, bathroom facilities, and so on with others. It is incompatible with adherence to public health guidance during a period of a pandemic for anybody to be homeless, or in co-living, or in shared accommodation. Totally incompatible. So I think we should just recognise that and enact the policy that is necessary in order to comply with what is obvious in terms of the protection of public health. I would say further and beyond that, as I've already mentioned, let's quickly get rid of those unacceptable, spurious and largely profit-driven reasons for evicting people. I mean, I have mentioned during the last Dáil, you probably heard me mention it, but the saga goes on and it kind of sums up a lot of what we're facing, the case of St Helens Court in Dún Laoghaire. If the eviction ban is lifted, tenants who've had 4 different attempts by a vulture fund over 2 years to evict them will be evicted. They'll be homeless and they'll be knocking the door of Dún Laoghaire Rathdown County Council, who don't have anywhere to house them. So don't let them be evicted, but also don't let vulture funds behave in that way, because they have no reasonable grounds for trying to evict these people other than the fact that they want to maximise the value of that property and the profit that they can make out of it. That simply should not be allowed. But I've also asked during the week, and I noticed Threshold, I was talking to Threshold today, and they're saying this as well, is that the government need to proactively step in and buy these blocks, which are rental blocks from these vulture funds, in order to keep people from being made homeless and to bring them into social and affordable housing stock. So I would suggest we do that in the case of St Helens Court, as was done with the Leaside Apartments in Cork, but in other similar situations where those kind of threats and behaviour by vulture funds persist. So I really would encourage the Minister to do that, and it will save money in terms of HAP payments and all the rest of it if you don't.